I'm Talisa Smith Wright, also known as Boss Lady T. I have an organization called Beautiful Bosses. The way that came about uh, was I grew up in a small town where we were poverty stricken. We didn't have a lot. We lived in low income apartments and lived off the government cheese and all that stuff that everybody cracks jokes about now. Growing up in that type of environment, brought about, a lot of struggles that a lot of people aren't familiar with. With that being said, there wasn't a lot of people there with resources that could help. And so I grew up, pretty much raising myself. I grew up with a teen mom who did everything she knew how to do, but, just from her being a child, she could only do what children would do. And so I raised myself in essence and my siblings, and I just wanted something different for myself. I ran around and got in a lot of trouble. If you guys know me, you knew I raised hell when I was in Bahia as a child. There was nothing to do but to get in trouble. Even though I really, really wanted something different for myself, there were no opportunities. But God blessed me where I was able to get out, and when I was able to get out, the Lord blessed me with mentors. He blessed me with resources. He blessed me with a lot of things that I wouldn't have had access to had I not took a chance and left home. But I also feel like later on, after I had gotten educated and gotten in a position where I could do things for myself and other people, I felt that I was supposed to come back. And so with that being said, I started Beautiful Bosses. Beautiful Bosses is just women of high standards who operate in excellence. And so instead of doing like Boss Chick or Boss B or whatever, I wanted to be a beautiful boss, somebody who to put thought into everything that they did. But it's also a mentorship program because I wanted to give girls what I never had. And when I came back, I noticed there was still nobody around here that could offer these girls help and direction, because we talk about them, we say what we want to say, we judge them, but we don't understand that a lot of them just don't have the resources or the know-how or the teaching to do better. And so I wanted to provide that. But with that being said, it also brought up a lot of other concerns. With me coming back to the community, it wasn't received the way I thought it was supposed to be received. It brought up a lot of feelings that I wish I didn't have. I was disappointed, discouraged, and all these different things, but it brought up something that I had read a long time ago, which was the Willie Lynch letter. And so I want to drop all the events and all the little things that I've been trying to do in the community to bring awareness, just to bring awareness in this sense. And I wanted to share with you guys the Willie Lynch letter for those of you who aren't aware of that. But Willie Lynch came to the West Indies in the 1700s because they were losing a lot of slaves, which they considered property. And this was their product. This is what brought their money and everything to the lands. So they was losing a lot because the slaves were out of control. And so Willie Lynch came over with his what he called his method to break a slave. And so it had to do a lot with a wild horse and a black male. So anyway, what he said, the equation, it took a black male, a female, and their young nigger boy is what they called it. And they had to have a mule because they considered this man the same resource as he considered, the same way they considered horses in the wild. They were not controllable. You can't control a black man in his natural state of mind the way God created him. His mind is strong, his body is strong, he had the natural build, he had everything that he needed to be successful. But the only way that they can get these men to submit was to break their spirit. And the only way to break their spirit is for the black woman to see them being broken. Because what that put in us was a distrust. We were scared because we knew that if this black man could not protect himself, then surely he couldn't protect us. And so what their goal was, it was to create a role reversal. If we saw it, we would start teaching our boys to eat out of the hand of the white man, so they would have what they want, which is a physically strong male, but a weak-minded male. And then a girl who was strong mentally, that would be able to sustain and maintain her own because she didn't have nobody to depend on but herself. And so that's how the role reversal started, because we as women were responsible for that. So we teach our men to eat out of the hand of the white man out of fear for their lives because we want them to live. Teach our girls to be strong and independent because they don't have anybody to depend on but themselves. And so I said all that to say is that Willie Lynch had a system, and in that system, they broke the family apart, and they reversed the roles, and then they took all of us and they separated us by skin color, by the lengths of our hair, every difference that you can come up, the old, the young, and everything. But I want today to specifically deal with the women, because really my heart has been breaking what I've been seeing in my community with the way the women aren't able to get along. There's so many strong, independent business women out there that are beautiful and that are doing great things. But the problem is the competition and the comparison and how we can't get along because we want to be the ones out front. And then we say things like, I'm just keeping it real. No, that's not keeping it real. We're being mean. Keeping it real is being honest about the way we feel. We're intimidated by each other. We're jealous. We're judgmental. And we find all the things that are wrong with each other instead of finding the things that we can build on. Because if we, as women, come together and combine our strengths and our beauty and do all the things that we know to do together, we can make a huge difference in our community. The impact would be amazing, and then we wouldn't have to worry about who is being voted into office because we would be making a difference. In other communities and other societies with other races, they don't look to other people to make their areas better. The parents give into the schools. The parents volunteer at the schools. The parents raise their children to be nice and kind to each other. The parents do all this stuff. And we as parents, we're teaching our kids, not by way of what we're saying, but the way we're doing. That's why our girls are bullies against each other. Our girls go to school and they make fun of their sisters for having natural hair. That comes from us calling each other nappy head. And the things that we say about each other, she thinks she this and she thinks she all that. That's okay. It's up to us to say, girl, you are beautiful, because you saying that your sister is beautiful does not take away from your beauty. For you saying that your sister is strong does not take away from your strength. It actually makes you look better. It actually makes you stronger. But if we can build on those things, then we can make an impact on our community, and we can support our men, and we can learn our roles. And by roles, I don't mean barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, because if you guys know me, you know I'm far from that. But I do feel like the reason why my husband and I have such a good marriage is because it's built on honesty, it's built on position, and we know what our roles are, and we bring those together and we combine it, and it's a strength. And so we don't have a perfect marriage, but we have a God-ordained marriage. And so we just we do things a certain way. And so we need to, as black women, just start to do things a certain way and take out, we don't need a man, and then we don't need each other. Who do we need then? But we can support every other business. You can support every other race without question. But when we try to do something and bring it into the community, you don't want to see your sister or brother have nothing. You want to complain about a charge that you would have paid anywhere else without question. You'll go in and you'll support anything outside of your community. You'll drive 30 minutes to a beauty shop when you got one right 5 minutes away from your house that does hair just as well, because you don't want to see your sister doing anything. And it's not okay for us to want to see somebody doing better as long as it's not better than you. A real leader, a real good person, a real genuine person wants to mentor and push somebody in a better position than they are. That's how it was in the old days. It's too many people who has died for us to have the freedom to be great, for us to try to tear each other down. And with that being said, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything that you want to share with me or anything that you'd like for me to think about, I'm open. So please do. Or if there's anything you felt like I was vague on, or I have lack of understanding, I would love to hear about it. But this is Talisa Smith Wright, signing off, also known as Boss Lady T. Let's talk.